This Weather Scope is sponsored by Oldsmobile and your local Oldsmobile retailers.
This is Weather Scope.
Wet weather is plaguing the East Coast today, and it's not stopping anytime soon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Janetta Jones. Let's go to Rich Johnson in the Forecast Center with more about the ongoing storm.
Thank you, Janetta. We continue to follow this storm. Started out as snow around Boston, now snow and sleet. Eventually a changeover. It has already changed over down to the coast, and of course around New York City. Started out as snow, and now it has changed over to heavy rain. It's been raining pretty good most of the day. Here's the situation that we have. Low pressure to the south, just about over Baltimore. In fact, over toward Dulles and out at National Airport, as well as BWI south of Baltimore, all record rain for today. Upwards around 1 3/4 inches, and plenty of rain heading up toward New York City. Oh, a rough rush hour this time around. Snow to the north into Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine. This high pressure center giving way a little bit, so that's why we're seeing the changeover, as opposed if the high were here and the moisture would be buffeted right up against the high. So this high is running away, but still cold enough to cause the onset of the precipitation to be snow, sleet, and freezing rain. Here are the temps quite cold at Bangor. Farther back to Burlington, 24 degrees. New York City, 40 degrees. Not a snowflake in sight anymore as the warm air has rolled on in. Well, join me right now, Colin Marquis, senior meteorologist here at the Weather Channel. One thing I want to touch on this time, Colin, there's been record rains. We saw that up into Baltimore and D.C., also in the south. How much more are we going to see?
Well, in the south, it's just about all over. A few lingering showers in eastern Carolinas, but in D.C., it's over for those folks. But for Philadelphia, another hour or two of heavy rain, and for New York City, probably another 4 or 5 hours of steady heavy rain, Rich.
So it's going to be a tough night to go out and see the show, I guess, in New York.
I think it will be. You might want to take an umbrella. But then again, the umbrella might lift you right up because the winds are picking up along, particularly along the coast, upwards of 40-mile-an-hour gusts.
And actually, through this weekend, as another disturbance makes its way off the coast, it's going to stay windy.
That's right.
Sunday.
Yep.
Okay, our satellite photograph, plenty of moisture off the coast. Show us what's going on for the rest of this Friday evening here.
Okay, now what we're looking at here is an infrared shot. The bright colors here are showing us the highest cloud tops, and therefore usually correlates well with the strongest or the most intense rainfall and or snowfall rates. This is all heading on to the northeast. The heaviest rainfall right now, eastern Pennsylvania up into the New York City area, and actually it is now raining in all of metro New York and up toward Poughkeepsie. And the only ice still reported in eastern New York or southeastern New York is up toward Albany.
Okay, the latest radar showing this quite well. There's just a bunch out there. Back to Baltimore and D.C., the record rain today, it's just about over with. More rain heading up toward New York. Touch on the snow now, where the heaviest snow is. It appears it's heading up into northern New England.
Yeah, that's right. The heaviest snow is from extreme upstate New York through most of Vermont and actually eking down into the northernmost suburbs or northwesternmost suburbs of Boston. Anywhere north of that line is where the heaviest snow is. And right now, mixing with sleet at latest check in downtown Boston, and it's done so in the last hour or so out in Worcester. So most of southern New England, Rich, is either having rain down to Hartford and Providence, all rain, and down in this area and here we're actually having snow mixing with some sleet and at times freezing rain as well.
Okay, let's just go back to this other picture first. That's a little bit better, but you had some reports upwards of 6 inches. I saw over at Glens Falls upwards around 7 inches earlier.
That's right, 7 inches up in Glens Falls. We had a report north of Worcester of 6 inches, and in Arlington, which is just about 5 miles west of Boston, about 3 inches, and that was about an hour ago.
Well, after all this rain settles on in, I guess a lot of the snow may be wiped out in some locations.
Actually, probably all of the snow in metro Boston will be out of there because we're expecting a pretty substantial rainstorm starting in the next few hours in that area.
And of course, at New York City as well as Philadelphia, flood watches are still in effect.
Absolutely. Some runoff problems. We've been seeing, for the most part, rainfall totals about 1 to 2 inches. So there may be some runoff problems, particularly on city streets and in areas that did receive some snow and then it goes to rain. Of course, you have catch basin problems with the clogging of the snow.
Speaking about rain down to Charleston and over to Savannah, we've seen record rain today between 2 and over 3 inches. Florida saw severe weather today. What do we have now?
They sure do, but you know what, Rich? The risk for severe is almost nil at this point. A few hotter cells, one south of Fort Myers and one traversing the area toward the Melbourne and Vero Beach area, but these do not look like they're putting down anything in the way of hail or gusty winds at all.
All right, thank you very much, Colin. And we hope a little bit later this evening to be checking back with Jim Cantore, of course, in Stowe, Vermont, and it is snowing heavily in the mountains of Vermont. Well, if you are going to be away from your television set and you want more about this storm or your forecast, check it out at weather.com. Now let's head back to the studio, and Janetta has a look at the western United States.
Thanks a lot, guys. We are looking at a new storm system moving on into the Pacific Northwest. We're talking about some scattered showers, an increase in rain for Northern California, Washington State, and Oregon, and that possibility of some heavier snowfall on into the Cascades. Here's the way things are shaping up across the Northwest. Boy, that rain is steady, and it's moving on into Seattle and Portland and Eugene, and do anticipate snowfall in the higher elevations, a lot of it, 6 to 12 inches at least. And we're going to see some very strong winds buffeting the coastline, too. We head a little farther to the south. We'll show you how that front is steadily moving on in with quite a bit of momentum, and we're expecting the rain to continue tonight, so rush hour is probably not going to be that great for you. Notice the rain now pushing on into San Francisco, Marin County getting into it, and Sausalito. Now, you can see that we do have gale warnings in effect from Cape Mendocino on north towards Point Roberts in Washington, and that means that we're going to have some strong gusty winds, so you'll need to be prepared for that. Obviously, the rain is upon you, and it will continue as that front sweeps on in. Now, eventually this front is going to move across and weaken, and the next system will move in tomorrow, so it will take a similar path and will do about the same thing. Look for the snow to continue in the Cascades and the Sierra. In the upper Midwest, we have this low, a little backlash effect going on, and the snow showers are continuing. Accumulations very light, 1 to 3 inches, if that, but enough to cause you some difficulty on the roadways. So, summing things up, we have a storm system moving into the west, one kind of kicking about across the Great Lakes, and obviously our big storm affecting the eastern seaboard. How about your forecast? Well, Friday evening, we do expect this will be the big story with the heavy rainfall right along the coast, especially the I-95 corridor. We're expecting that mix a little farther to the north, and then snow to the north of that. And already some locations have picked up over 8 inches of snow, and we are going to be watching that very closely, especially for the roadways. This front all the way into the picture, and it will weaken as it moves on across the mountainous regions. We'll bring in another front tomorrow morning. You can see it already starting to emerge, and we will see the strong windy conditions, the rain, and also the snow, depending on where you are. But Super Bowl weekend looks pretty good for Southern California. Rain may continue to be the case for you right along the coast there in South Carolina and North Carolina. We may even see some strong thunder showers, so we'll have to watch that very closely. Heaviest rainfall will occur right along the coast. Flash flood watch is in effect here, and we have the heavier snowfall, extreme northern sections of Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine.